Hi everyone, I'm Pippa Chabalala.
And I'm Marco Cocamillo.
And welcome to the E3 special of Glitch. Now, if you haven't already guessed, this is an episode all about E3 2018. We flew all the way to LA to attend what is like the biggest, most extravagant gaming convention in the world. And in this episode, we pretty much have everything E3 related. So we count down our top 10 games. We talk about an awesome co-op shooter called Strange Brigade, upcoming Spyro Reignited trilogy, something really, really cool. We look at all the different ways you can kill people in Hitman 2, and not the old Hitman 2, the new Hitman 2, because it's a reboot and it's a little bit confusing. Yeah. And then lastly, we look at an amazing local game called Semblance by Nyamakop, which is making waves pretty much all over.
We played it and it was pretty cool.
It was awesome, making waves all over the world. So we have a lot to get through, so let's get started. Over 69,000 people attended E3 2018, making it one of the highest attended to date. The Glitch team saw crazy zombies, giant statues, massive game stands, and some more crazy zombies. Of course, the week would not have been complete without some over-the-top press conferences from Ubisoft, Microsoft, and Sony, showcasing all their latest upcoming titles. Even seasoned E3 attendees found it hard not to stare at some of the awesome stands on the show, as the gaming industry went all out to showcase their products. Sure, there were huge numbers of people, but the energy and love for video games that came out of the Los Angeles Convention Center was mind-blowing, reinforcing why this is one of the fastest-growing industries in the world. We've been to the conferences, we know all the games that are coming out, we've been on the show floor, we've seen all the amazing things that are on display, and absolutely, you guys are not going to be disappointed in the upcoming year of gaming. So first up, we have Hitman 2 on the agenda.
So a few years ago, Square Enix had publishing rights to the first Hitman, and they released a whole bunch of episodes. So Hitman 2, which is not the 2002 Hitman on PS2 and PC. This is Hitman 2, as in it's a whole brand new game. It's being brought by Warner Brothers Games now, so they have publishing rights, and they've basically released this really cool, really fast. They put this together really fast, and we actually played a demo at E3.
We did, and what was really cool is that Marco and I both played, and we both attacked the game completely differently. So for a little bit of a taste of that, we're not going to give it all away. Check this out. After the success of the first episodic Hitman collection released in 2016, there was absolutely no doubt the game would return. With Warner Brothers Games at the helm of the new title, Hitman 2 is looking better and deadlier than ever before. We were able to get hands-on with the game at E3 2018, and as you can see here, we really embraced the opportunity to take out our target the way we wanted to. Watch our side-by-side comparison to see how Marco and I both played through the game completely differently. Yes, that's me fighting guards and running away from alerted enemies while dressed like a flamingo. Our target, an elusive mob leader named Sierra Knox, who just happened to be competing in one of the most prestigious track races of the year. It was the perfect chance for us to take her out. This meant tracking down a sniper rifle and killing the mob leader as she came round the bend, or sabotaging her car with a bomb. Of course, neither of these were easy, as we had to sneak into the race, avoid being detected, knock out some NPCs to steal their disguise, and get to our required location to make the final kill. I went the sniper route while Marco poisoned the mechanic, stole his uniform and planted the bomb. And of course, Marco just had to give the flamingo disguise a go too. Hitman 2 will offer dozens of ways to accomplish each mission, so this was just a small taste of what is to come when the full game releases on the 13th of November 2018. Welcome back. So now for me, one of the biggest surprises from my experience at E3 was a really cool co-op shooter called Strange Brigade by Rebellion Games.
Yeah. So, I mean, every E3 we have this where we play a game that we don't expect to play and like wow us.
So last year for me it was Skull and Bones.
Me too. Yeah. I mean, we played that together. So this year's Strange Brigade, I feel like we got mutual feelings about it. It's about this like, you know, setting like this 1960s.
No, 1930s.
1930s.
So 1930s. So you know that like the episodic, like, so, you know, our intrepid heroes. It's that kind of vibe.
Very over the top. Very like there's a big announcer screaming at you, telling you what's happening. And it's very dramatic. I think it's really cool.
Lots of like mummies and undead zombies, and you've got to go and find treasure. The cool thing for me is that you play co-op, but you have to compete with the other members of your team in that co-op in order to get the treasure. So you all have to help each other to get through to the next level.
But you could be sly, and like during the demo, I actually went off to the side and
he got greedy.
I thought there was a box, and the box was behind like a tripwire, and I tripped the wire, and a log like decapitated me.
So he actually then lost all of his treasure because he got greedy. So you do have to be careful of things like that. But it was such a like refreshing and really cool game that just was not at all what I was expecting.
No, me either. And I think it was also hard as well because I feel like there's no aim assist, and like developers told us there's no aim assist, so you have to like make sure that all the guns feel so old and like heavy and like good in your hands.
And they feel like really solid.
Yeah,
I mean, well, as solid as it can feel in a video game.
Yes.
But I mean, they feel really solid and really like authentic.
Yeah. And cool, like very steampunk. It's sort of like borderline. Like I had a blunderbuss, which is like a rare weapon, which is huge like vinyl record shooting like rifle tip, and it was heavy. You feel like you're playing with these old guns. I think it was pretty cool.
Yeah, it was awesome. And so I also managed to catch up with the lead designer, Steve Bristow, and check out what he had to say. Hi, I'm Pippa Chabalala, and welcome to Glitch. And we are here today with Steve, the lead designer on Strange Brigade. This was a really surprising game for me, actually. I'd heard a little bit about it, but I didn't know that much about it, and it's really awesome.
Oh, good. Well, thank you very much for saying so. I'm glad.
So, in terms of the art style, I mean, that's sort of very like 1930s. It's like serial episodics, you know, our intrepid explorers, that kind of vibe, really.
Yeah.
Where did you? I mean, I suppose I know where you drew the inspiration from, the 1930s, but I mean, what made you go in that direction? There's nothing else really like that at the moment.
Well, it kind of grew from looking at those old sort of H. Rider Haggard stories and the Boy's Own Adventure stuff, and wanting to do something that was just purely fun and kind of tongue-in-cheek and a bit hokey. When you go back and look at a lot of those stories now, they're kind of corny, but at the time they were sort of riveting, and you know, people would take their families to these old black and white matinee serials, and there's a real joy to those stories, and a lot of imagination and general silliness, which has been kind of, you know, different from our previous games, and really refreshing and fun to work on.
I mean, so how do you think something like that translates into the gameplay? Because I think that there are a lot of similarities in the sense that the gameplay is also like a little bit silly, but at the same time, it's just a lot of fun. So how are you translating things like the story and the style through to the gameplay?
Yeah, well, exactly. I mean, that's why it works, I think, is because it's meshed the kind of like the wrapper, the theme of the game with the gameplay, which, as you say, it's pretty crazy, really. There's a lot of fantasy in there. There's a lot of sort of magical elements and stuff, and there are absurd environmental traps and huge chain reactions of explosions and all sorts of things popping off all very kind of Hollywood and daft. So I think the tongue-in-cheek sort of vibe of the game helps all of that to blend together and to work well together.
Then the other thing for me is also things like the weapons upgrades. So weapons upgrades, collecting the gems, but also the treasure, part of the. I mean, it's co-op, but at the same time, you've got the treasure side of it. That there's a bit of competition there as well.
Yeah, a little bit. Yeah, we like to. We've done quite a few 1 to 4 player co-op games now. And we find that a little bit of a competitive edge in there for those that are looking for it works really well. You get quite a lot. There are lots of opportunities to get your revenge on somebody who may have just swiped your gold for opening a chest that you found. And that leads to quite a lot of fun interactions between the players outside of the actual game itself as well. All of which works to generate the kind of laughs we've heard coming out of that room all through E3 so far, which is really gratifying to see.
Great, and thank you very much. Amira, when is it out?
It's out on August the 28th on Xbox One X, PS4, Pro and PC.
So next up is another game that I really enjoyed. So my kids are big Skylanders fans, and I managed to get a chance to play Spyro Reignited, or the Spyro part of the Spyro Reignited trilogy. And it was really awesome and cute and really refreshing. And so Marco and I had to kind of split up to be able to cover everything. So I went and played Spyro Reignited while he was busy playing another game. Yep. And it was something like, it was really cool because it had the sense of the old game, and actually what the developers have done is that they actually matched the old game. So I think that's something that a lot of people don't know. They went back, they replayed the old game, they modeled it and just like updated it. So a lot of the areas are really familiar to anyone who has played the original Spyro. And it was very authentic in that sense because it's really cool. Like you're getting a sense of the things like the music is like the same. They use the same composers. They use the same voiceover artist. It's just something that was just really refreshing, but also nostalgic at the same time.
I think they're rebuilding the first 3 original games.
They've rebuilt.
So it's the first Spyro, then Year of the Dragon, and then Raptor's Rage. So there's three
Exactly, but they've actually rebuilt the worlds from scratch because they didn't have the original files anymore. Okay. So they had to use the old games, but use reference of the old games, but then actually rebuild and like the whole world from scratch. And what was really cool is that if anyone who was on the show floor got to play 2 levels. And then if you were pressed, then you got to play like an extra secret level that they had to go and like enter a little code, which was quite nice because it was like, like when when you were young and you sort of entered the secret cheat codes to get access to that like secret level. But yeah, so take a look. I managed to get a little bit of hands-on time with the Spyro Reignited trilogy, and this is our preview.
Everybody's favorite dragon is back. Spyro is returning in the Spyro Reignited trilogy, a remastering of the first 3 games in the Spyro series: Spyro the Dragon, Spyro 2 Ripto's Rage, and Spyro Year of the Dragon. Originally developed for and released on the PlayStation, these remasters are a complete graphical overhaul of the original games, but the level design and layout remains the same, including the location of items and enemies. Something else that's carried over from the original trilogy is the voiceover artist Tom Kenny, who voiced Spyro in Spyro 2 and 3. He was brought back to re-record the entire trilogy, a unified fan favorite for the entire remastered series.
Nasty Nork has put one of his most devious henchmen in charge of the artisan world.
Bring him on! I think I smell a barbecue.
Be careful, Spyro. Toasty has many tricks up his sleeve.
The music, originally written by Stuart Copeland, will be remastered and updated by developer Toys for Bob. Playing through these remastered levels, there was a real sense of nostalgia for the original games. And coupled with the fact that this is no mere upscaling of graphics for a newer console, but instead a complete overhaul, means that this game will appeal to the older gamers and the new. Levels feel fresh, and you can feel the difference with the updated gameplay. Small additions like being able to burn the grass, and seeing moss and vines growing in the cracks of the buildings really help improve the experience. Music changes as you move from inside buildings to outside. Subtle effects like bongos when Spyro runs, and other small changes like autosave that update the experience for a modern gamer. The game has in fact been built from the ground up, as the developers no longer had the original code. So the team played through the original games to make sure the remastered version was completely true to the spirit of the series. The Spyro Reignited trilogy brings to life the original games, while updating the look and feel of the world and the characters, and taking it to another level in order to make it that much more engaging for a contemporary audience. The Spyro Reignited trilogy is scheduled for release on September 21st, 2018 on PlayStation 4 and Xbox One.
Now, one of the coolest things that I think that we got to do actually was to interview a local developer. Now, yes, it does seem a bit counterintuitive to have gone all the way to LA to interview someone.
But I feel like it's always the case. Like whenever we see South Africans at E3, it's always like, oh my gosh, you're South African. Like,
but it was really nice. I don't know. I mean, I'm hoping that you guys have heard about Semblance and developers Nyamakop, but to see something like this doing so well and getting so much interest.
And it's actually won an award.
It did. It's recently won an award in Japan.
For design and excellence.
Exactly.
It's a big deal.
And it's such a great game. It's going to be available on PlayStation, on Xbox as well.
I think right now it's just Switch and PC.
Oh, is it just Switch and PC? Okay.
They're not saying PlayStation,
Yeah.
but like, you know, they'll probably release it on PlayStation.
Yeah, I mean, to be fair, I think it's the kind of game that works across platform, like because it's a cool like little sort of puzzler game. It reminds me in a lot of ways of like Loco Roco, where you've got to like, you know, activate switches and things like that. But just so beautifully done, visually absolutely gorgeous. And it's getting a lot of international interest. It should hopefully be releasing soon.
Yes.
They haven't given an exact release date yet, but it should hopefully be releasing in the next couple of months. And absolutely, you should go out and buy this game. But we were lucky enough to catch up with the developers while we were there at Indie Heaven.
Yeah.
And see what they had to say.
I'm Sugar, and I'm one of the developers from Nyamakop, and we're working on Semblance being published by Good Shepherd. That's who we are. Semblance is a Play-Doh platformer where you get to shape and mold the world to solve puzzles. And we're kind of calling it the first platformer. Because if you really think about it, everything before then was a run and jump on a platform. How did we come to name Nyamakop? It was a lot of back and forth in terms of what are we gonna call ourselves. I think Ben was just like Nyamakop. One of the days he came, was like, and we're like, yeah, cool, let's roll with it. It's pretty funny. And it's cool because I'm from Kenya, and Nyama in Kenya in Swahili is also meat. isiZulu is also meat. And then kop is Afrikaans for head, meathead. So it's really, I think it really stands out and shows a lot about how we're African and where we're from. When you tell people, hey, we're from Africa, and it's like a big surprise, and we like that. And then we get to, you know, kind of sell South Africa and the continent at large, because we really don't shy away from being African. We wear it proud. You can see it. You know, we're Wakanda adjacent. The reaction has been amazing to Semblance. People love it. People love it. So we're going to be coming out on Nintendo Switch and PC very soon, a lot sooner than you think. It's on Steam right now. Go wishlist. If you want to know more about us or the game, you can check our website out at semblance-game.com.
Now, before we wrap up our E3 2018 episode, we really wanted to share the games that we felt were the best of the show. Now, that's everything from hands-on gameplay, behind closed doors sessions, pretty much everything in between, from indie to AAA titles. And I mean, it's very hard to pare it down to a top 10.
We would need top 50 because there's such cool games at E3. Like, even things, trailers, even reveals, even those games that we see for like 2 minutes. Like,
exactly, the ones that you don't necessarily get to see.
We don't know when it's
gameplay,
coming. We don't know what's happening, but we know it's happening.
Yeah, and you never really know when these things are going to come out because something gets announced and then you don't hear of it for another like 5 years.
Rip Silent Hill.
But we at Glitch put together our top 10 of E3 2018. Check it out.
At number 10, Dreams. Originally announced with the PS4 reveal back in 2013, Dreams was showcased again at E3 2018, and we wanted more. We always say that Media Molecule don't create games, they create new genres, and Dreams is no different. You can build your own world and story, play through some of the more artistic ones in the game, or even sort through the creations made by other players online. It is the next level in creator content, and if you thought Little Big Planet was ambitious, then think again, as this is going to take things to a whole new level. Number 9 has to be Ori and the Will of the Wisps. The first Ori game was an absolute gem with one of the most beautiful and light-hearted stories ever told, giving you the sense that you were watching a moving painting. Ori and the Will of the Wisps is set to improve on the already great platforming, combat, and stunning environments. We played a short demo at E3 and it was filled with both challenges and beauty as we explored the dangerous forest and fought deadly creatures. While the game does not have a release date yet, we have no problem being patient, as we know it's going to be good. At number 8, Just Cause 4. Rico is back with more gadgets, a more diverse and bigger open world to explore, and of course, more explosions! Just Cause 4 looks fantastic, and we saw it in action as the developers showed us all the awesome new things Rico could do with his grappling hook. We can now tether dozens of objects together, launch them in the air with a rocket tether, and even make them float by tethering them to a balloon. It all looks pretty epic, and what we saw was just the beginning. Imagine using this all in the height of combat, where you can use the environment around you to take out enemies. Number 7 is Kingdom Hearts 3. It has been over 20 years since the original Kingdom Hearts released on the PS2, and we'll finally get to see the conclusion to the Sora saga in Kingdom Hearts 3. Of course, a Kingdom Hearts game would not be complete without its awesome Disney worlds, and we got to play through the Toy Story world during E3. We met Andy's toys, fought toy-like Heartless, and used some flashy moves to disperse them. We also know the game will be bringing on board Big Hero 6, Tangled, Frozen, Monsters Inc., and even Pirates of the Caribbean. It's going to be one hell of a Disney meets Final Fantasy adventure. A highly anticipated game up next at number 6. It's Ghost of Tsushima. The Ghost of Tsushima makes it hard to believe this game is releasing on PS4. After seeing the gameplay demo live at E3, it looks like something from a next-generation console. A beautiful open world with stunning Japanese vistas to explore and a deadly realistic combat system. It's an ambitious game from Sucker Punch, the creators of Infamous, one that grabbed our interest the moment we saw it in action. It will be something new in a world full of FPS games, and we cannot wait to disappear into the island of Tsushima when the game launches in the not yet announced distant future. What would E3 be without an Assassin's Creed game? At number 5, it's Assassin's Creed Odyssey. Just when you thought Ubisoft could not beat last year's Assassin's Creed Origins, they came out with Odyssey. We had no idea what we were in for, but after an hour with the game, we cannot wait for more. Odyssey has more RPG elements in it than ever before, which includes new superhero-like skills, a deep loot and stat system, and even dialogue choices that grow and destroy relationships within the game. You can also play the entire game as either Alexios or Cassandra, giving the player a proper choice in characters. Build your Spartan and conquer Greece. This is what the game is all about, and we're excited to do just that. One of the most exciting games coming out of last year's E3 at number 4, Spider-Man. We've been looking forward to Spider-Man for some time now, but E3 2018 was the first time we actually got to get hands-on with this game. The demo saw us swinging through New York City using the game's extremely impressive movement system as we flung ourselves across buildings, onto escaping robber vans, and even through busy streets. We then tackled the mobs and gave them a good beating as Spidey flipped around the battle arenas, threw objects at enemies, and moved around as fast as he could to avoid gunfire. Every concern we had about the game's movement system was put to rest when we realized just how great it felt in our hands. Spider-Man not only looks like an epic superhero game, but it plays like one too. Following on from the success of the first game, the number 3 spot goes to The Division 2. Building on the existing third-person gameplay mechanics, you choose the kind of character to play, in this case we played as a sharpshooter or sniper, and tackle enemies as a group. It is essential to play to each other's strengths in order to take down a variety of enemies. Some are easier to kill than others. The Division 2 also features a new raid mode which can be completed by up to 8 players. The release date has been announced for the 15th of March 2019 on Xbox One, PlayStation 4 and PC. The number 2 spot goes to The Last of Us Part 2. The Last of Us Part 2 is on another level of video game design right now. Its dark story, gripping combat, and deep characters seem to have somehow improved on the first game, and that's saying something, as the first game was a masterpiece. The demo we saw explained how the combat is harder, enemies are smarter than ever, and the story will focus on humanity and their struggle to try and live a normal life in a world gone mad. While we still know very little about the game, we can just rewatch what we've seen and imagine the experience Naughty Dog has planned for us. Of course, the number 1 spot could only go to Cyberpunk 2077. Even with all the impressive games on show this year, the moment we saw gameplay from Cyberpunk 2077, we knew we had a winner. We've heard pretty much nothing from CD Projekt Red since their first announcement of Cyberpunk 5 years ago. So their surprise trailer at the end of the Microsoft conference threw media into a frenzy. The behind closed doors gameplay demo blew us away, and any doubts we might have had about this game were instantly put to bed. You play as V, a customizable mercenary who climbs her, or his, way to the top of the Night City crime underworld. This first-person RPG game from the creators of the Witcher series currently still has no release date, but rest assured the moment we know, you'll know.
So that was the glitched combined top 10, sort of like everybody put in their 2 cents worth, and that's kind of what we pared it down to. But I think, I mean, Marco, what were your personal best games of the show?
I have to say Kingdom Hearts 3 for me, because we've waited like 20 years or so now for this damn game, and it's finally happening. And they've added so much Pixar into it. So there's the Toy Story, there's Frozen, there's Monsters Inc., Big Hero 6, and that's a big deal because we've never been there before in their series before, and it's also the final one, so they're really going out with a bang. And then secondly, I have to say Assassin's Creed Odyssey, because I'm a big Assassin's Creed fan, and I got to Spartan kick people off a mountain during our hands-on session. It's so cool. You get these cool abilities. They make you feel more than just an assassin. Like you feel like a superhero. And one of this is the Spartan kick. That is, as soon as you kick this guy, it makes this loud sound and they go flying off the cliff. Who doesn't want to do that?
So, I mean, I'll agree with you on Assassin's Creed because I really enjoyed that. Marco knows I'm not a Kingdom Hearts fan.
No.
So that was a lot of backwards and forwards while we were there. It's like, oh, I want to play Kingdom Hearts. I'm like, I don't care.
I'm going to buy it. She's going to play the first one and the second one and the third one and all the in-betweens. Yeah.
You're going to make me just so that I can...
It's about 200 hours of your life that you need. Should be fun. But what were your 2 favorite games?
So my favorite ones, I'm kind of torn, so I'm just going to sneak an extra one in there. I'm torn between Skull and Bones and Strange Brigade because I thought that those were really just awesome. And it's interesting for me because I think, Skull and Bones was my surprise favorite from last year and Strange Brigade was my surprise.
Has Skull and Bones changed a lot since last year?
It really has. Like, they've really expanded on what was, I think, very Assassin's Creed gameplay from last year. So Anyone who's played the Black Sails with the sort of the ships and the fighting and thing on the ships and whatever, Skull and Bones last year felt very much like that. Felt very much like the sailing combat part of Assassin's Creed, like just kind of translated. Whereas this time around, it's really gone a little bit deeper. There's a little bit more of a story involved and that kind of stuff. And actually, it was something that I thought was really exciting. And then Strange Brigade, I mean, we talked about that earlier. Strange Brigade for me was just, it was awesome and surprising and fun. And that's the thing I think for me was that it was really, really fun. And then my number one still aligns with the glitch, like number one, which is Cyberpunk 2077, because that was the game that I came out of that demo with just, OMFG, I need to play that. And I know that there was a lot of controversy because the whole like first person thing, but you will not be disappointed. It was amazing. It was, you could see elements of The Witcher that kind of carried through in terms of things like the enhancements before you go into battle. So like the idea that in The Witcher, you drink potions, but then in Cyberpunk, you take other enhancements. It was phenomenal. And it is something that I can see that if I'm going to be putting 200 hours into a game, sorry, it's not going to be Kingdom Hearts for me. It's going to be Cyberpunk, but that's okay.
Kingdom Hearts keep you busy until Cyberpunk
comes out, because we don't have a release date for Cyberpunk.
No.
And considering it's been 5 years in between
and
the first
only like
trailer,
200 people got to see gameplay.
That is true. Okay, so
deal.
gameplay still hasn't leaked, which is amazing. Actually, gameplay still hasn't leaked on the internet or anything like that, and they haven't released any gameplay. So the only people who saw the gameplay are people who were able to attend the media briefing. So I think that those people are the ones who are like, oh my God, it's amazing. But everyone else is still kind of waiting. And I am hoping that CD Projekt is going to release something soon.
Yeah, me too. I mean, I'm excited for the game, but I didn't see, I'm kind of like meh because
of course,
I want to see more,
sense.
But I'm not interested in it because, you telling me one thing is cool, but until I see it.
But actually seeing it, it makes a massive difference. And as I said, I'm really hoping that gameplay is going to come out soon so that people can really
share the excitement.
In that excitement.
Because I'm not sharing, I'm just kind of like, Kingdom Hearts 3.
And that brings us to the end of our E3 2018 special episode.
Yeah, until next year, I suppose. Eh?
Yes, exactly. And of course, you can catch us all over the interwebs because that is really the point. So if you want to head over to our YouTube channel and watch old episodes of Glitched, you can catch up on what you might have missed.
All the way back to Rage last year. So
exactly. So there's been almost a year of Glitched episodes now. But you can also catch us every Thursday on our live stream, the 404.
All sorts of things go down on that stream.
It's a lot of fun. There's a lot of fun.
It's really fun.
Yeah, we were playing Earthfall the other night, and that was great. There was also another kind of surprise.
Yes, it's also a good co-op.
Yes.
Game.
And then, of course, you can find us all over our social pages as well. So Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, all
Everything
the things.
you want to know is in the links below. So go crazy.
Yeah, go and do the things. We'll catch you again next time.
Cheers.
Yeah, bye.